Hi, everyone. I think we're live
Welcome,
now.
everyone. Should be live now.
Yeah, welcome to the new of you guys. If it's your first live workshop, welcome. And for the people that already were with us last month, well, welcome again. We had a bunch of artworks and questions that we will work on today. I think we have a good hour and a half of material. So I'm going to jump right in.
Awesome.
Did you want to say something or?
No, just a big welcome for me too. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks to everyone that submitted their artwork again. And one thing, if you could let us know in the chat, as always, whether you can hear us and see us. That way we know we're not talking to ourselves. So we're going to assume you can, though, and I'll let David get started.
I'm going to share my screen and jump to Photoshop. All right. So,
All right, cool.
Fabian, first question we had was from Antarius. Is that right?
From Antarius. 1 second. Let me just open up the form. Okay. Yes, Antarius Williams. Saying, I'm trying to learn about lighting and values, and I need your advice because I don't want to think I'm doing this the right way. I want to master the lighting and values. Can you tell me where my mistakes are and where I need to put the lighting? Some help would be helpful.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll help you. For what I see from this exercise that you provide me, there's a few things wrong. There's a few things right. So I'm going to start with what's right. You put the general lighting at the right place. So, you know, from the top right here, yeah, it seems pretty good. Same thing here for the bottom and for the left. The shadows, though, the shadows are really, really strange on your thing. You put like just like a blurb of black under it, and the shadow should be a little bit more large. See, so I'm just gonna give you an example here. Take a saffron brush. I'm gonna make one dot like that. I like to do this, and then I transform the dot doing Command T, and then you can go just place it at the bottom of it. Start with something not too dark. You see, I'm not going too dark here. This is like kind of pale. And what you can do after that, and that's for a soft shadow, obviously. What you can do after that is just to create another layer and just go really under that, what we call the occlusion shadow, and go place the occlusion shadow really close to it. Obviously, I don't have layers on this, so it paints on top of it. But if I delete what's not supposed to be on top, it should start make sense to you. So basically, you have that occlusion shadow, which is this one, and then you have the top shadow here. And now what you could do is just shift it a little bit to the left or the right. But what you did was just, it's too dark, and it seems really just like there's a shape on top of a black fuzzy dot right now. You put the reflection that comes from the ground. I can see that you did that, so that's good. But because your shadow is wrong, that's why it doesn't fit together. If you were to take out the shadow, it would already have more feeling to it. But because the shadow is just not exactly how it should be, it's a little bit more complicated here. Like to just paint a little bit on the side, like the shadow should just be a little bit more large like this, at least. If you were to keep it like as dark as that. But I think your shadow is too dark right now. Also, the general lighting on top of it, it's a bit patchy. Just when you do something that's fair like this one, just take your brush and make it big enough to be able to just paint. And that way it's going to stay round instead of having like pieces like that. Or maybe you wanted to show like the dent of the jaw, which therefore, yeah, I guess so. But because it just looks like it looks not like symmetric right now, it feels a bit wrong. And then the top highlight, also make sure that it reflects at the right place. It seems a bit crooked for me, depending on the lighting where it goes. It could be more something like, I'm just going to make a copy here. Like that highlight, or just I'm gonna take the highlight down, and then I'm just gonna take another brush. Like I feel like the highlight should be just a little bit more here. Yeah. Was that where you put it? Wait a minute. So yeah, just a little bit more down like this, so it reflects there. So you're really close on each of them, basically. You just have to take a little bit more of your time. Like here, the shadow is so dark, and because the page is so bright and the shadow is so dark, it feels like it's not working together. So what I would have done is just take the overall lighting of the page. So you should have something that reflects all over, something that doesn't look like this, you know? And that way it feels like it's already more part of that image. Same thing for this one. Just take a little bit of the overall lighting that comes. So I think if you do this, you take in consideration the lighting of the page itself, and that you fix your shadows, you'll have something a little bit more closer. But overall, you understand basically what it is. You simply have to just take a little bit more of your time, just have a few more try to it, and I'm pretty sure that you'll catch this one real fast. If you have any other questions, just pop them in the chat. I'm going to switch to the next one. Fabien,
Yep.
Was that a question or?
Nope, not yet. Not that I've seen. That goes for everything, by the way. If anyone has questions about what David's talking about, I'm always watching the chat, so just pop them in there, and I can get those to him.
So the one that I have is from Rasti. Maybe there was a question. I know there's a few questions without the illustration.
All right. So this one is from Rusty, as you said.
Yes.
1 second.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool artwork. He was saying. So he was asking, "Hi guys, I'm new here. How do these Q&As work? Can you submit anything? Is there some instructions or description?" So yeah, for now you can submit everything. And David will cover it as you've seen. So I guess he'd like just to get a bit of general feedback on that painting.
All right. Well, I like your design. They're really nicely designed. I can see that you already have some practice to it. They're nice structure, they're nice balance. The shadows are really nice too. So I guess I can give you a general feel on how you could have make them more pop, maybe, because I feel like if it was a presentation for Weapon, I think that's definitely good enough. But if you wanted to give them just a little bit more of a pop, because they're placed on a white background right now, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of display them in a way that it's not dramatic enough, I would say. So maybe if you just, I'm going to try to take all the white here, do similar. And that should do the trick. If you take something a little bit more dark as a background, therefore you'll be able to just, I'm just going to do this here, just be able to just add a little bit more of, I don't know, of dramatic lighting on it. You could add some sort of highlights and maybe a shadow as well. So I'm just going to have a, but from there, it's really just like this is definitely good enough. Like I said, I like the design, I like the shadows. You pretty much know your stuff for what I see. Maybe the only thing is just adding a little bit more effects to them, like maybe like stuff really easy. Like I would add maybe an overlay here and try to add some, you know, some reflections on them, or maybe a color dodge actually. Just something that's a little bit more flashy at some places. Like just to get like that. I'm still on overlay. Wait. It's something that I showed. If you looked at the jewel, it's kind of the same technique. So you know, you could make the stones a little bit more bright here, and then just add a few more lighting there and there. Can take something.
The glowing gold tutorial, is that what you meant?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, just make like maybe pop the general lighting of it. Just make it more magic or something like that. This is a really quick, really fast, but it's just to show you the technique a little bit. So you could just design a few places that are just more magic and just glow a little bit more, and some more highlights at a few places. But that's just if you want to make them look magic a little bit more. That being said, I think this is good enough. I think this could just make it a little bit more dramatic, and then you can see like the different material, how they reflect. Because on a white background, it's always really difficult to put highlights, obviously, and you did a great job at it already. But if you took a darker background, it's going to be easier for you to add some highlights. And especially for the stones, I think the stones could be really like popping a little bit more. Although just even with that, I guess on the white background, it could work as well. But yeah, beside that, really nice job, man. It's really cool. Great piece for portfolio.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, then we had an exercise here from Chris. Was that a question before this one? Because I know there's
Chris was saying that he completed this with mouse only.
Oh, really? Wow. How did you do that? That's quite the dedication here. Well, I got not much to say. It's an exercise to practice your line with your tablet. So if you did it with your mouse, it kind of defeats the purpose, I would say. Although you nail the exercise itself, but it's really more like a personal practice for you to try all the lines, to try if you're able to do the straight lines, the curves, and et cetera, play with the pressure of your pen. So if I were you, even though you nailed it, you should redo it with a tablet. Because if you did it with a mouse, then it defeats the purpose, like I was saying.
Assuming you have a tablet, that is, and I guess that kind of opens up the debate of whether you need a tablet for digital painting.
Well,
if you wanted to weigh in on that,
because it's lines, so it's not really painting. So obviously you can do lines with a tablet, with a mouse, but when it comes to really paint a whole thing, although I'm sure someone could put the time, but I would just suggest having a tablet. It's going to make everything much easier.
I mean, for the one reason that you have like pressure sensitivity alone, for that alone, I guess it's like almost there's no way around it. Plus just the control you'll get. So yeah, definitely worth investing in if you want to progress your digital painting.
Next one was from Richard Blumenstein.
All right, 1 second. Richard was saying, where do I need to go in my skill level in order to achieve professional quality?
Wow, okay. Just give me, I got a light in my eye here. All right. So, well, first of all, kudos, man. I went to your portfolio. Yeah, really nice pieces. You have a great understanding of the basic of, I'm looking for my word here, perspective. You have a good understanding basically of perspective. You play a lot with sceneries and lots of character, and those illustrations usually take a lot of time. It can be really intimidating at first, so you got great stuff, man. When it comes to make your shit a professional, sorry for that word.
Excuse David's French.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse my French. I think what you just need is just a little bit more time on everything. Basically, a little bit more rendering. So, for this scene as well, really, I think that most important thing on this scene is the two main characters. So, first thing that I would do is I would try to make sure that that the two characters in the middle are a little bit more isolated. So I would just darken everything around them a little bit, making sure that already first thing we see, it's really those two, although it's really hard to miss the big giant dude. And from there, maybe just try to have a little bit more time on the rendering of the lighting, especially on the characters and the characters in the middle. The characters all around them, you don't need to put as much time or as much details, but the one in the middle, that little gnome and that giant furry ball, just putting a little bit more time on the shadow. Like they have a really bright light, I guess, on top of them. So maybe accentuate the fact that the light is on top of them will help. And for that, just add a little bit more highlights. I think will do the job nicely. Maybe I'm gonna add. Oh no, I already did. All right. So just like, all right. So the light is on top of him, so it's gonna hit on the back right here. And I'll just do this for now.
Really cool little details on the tattoo there, and just in general across the painting.
It's a really great piece actually. So also he's gonna have a little bit of highlight there. So basically what I'm going to do is just I'm going to take like the lighting where it's coming from, it's from the top. And I'm going to add a little bit more of values, a different kind of range of values, basically. Just making sure that it looks like there's a highlight wherever it's supposed to be. I'm just going to go on the ear as well. And this is going to be, obviously, that's what's going to take like a lot of time. You'll have to go on all the different places where the light hits. And it's going to help just the general understanding of the illustration. It's going to add also a lot of drama because brighter and harder highlights will just help from a distance to understand what's happening. Just going to add a multiply here. I'm going to darken that shadow under the eye, making really dramatic. Okay.
If anyone wants to see any more of Richard's work, by the way, he put his portfolio website in the comment. It's richardblumenstein.com. So just a little plug for you there.
So from there, I'm just going to paint a little bit and show you the before and after so you understand what I meant by that. I won't go too much in detail. That would take time. Obviously, that's the part that takes time, right? Here, a little bit more. The teeth are maybe just too dark right now. I mean, too bright. Some few highlights here. And, I think already that should make a good difference. I'm just going to group all that. And see, just that makes a huge difference, I feel, in the dramatic aspect of the scene. So because there's a really like bright highlight on top of it, so I would just add more time to try to start rendering everything there. You already did it. Like you can already see that you already rendered everything, and you see the 3D of it, and you see all the details, but adding just a little bit more crisp to the shadows, because the highlight is really like a little bit more sharp, and the shadows are a little bit more crisp. It's going to add a lot more dramatic of the scene of those two characters playing chess and be really concentrated. And more contrast you have in an illustration for it to read it. So if you add all those contrasts everywhere, it's going to become really easy for you to read that those two characters are the main. And then you don't have to put as much time everywhere. Just on those two, I think it's going to help a lot. So yeah, I hope that's helping, man. Beside that, I think you have a really great portfolio. You see that other piece here. See that other piece, you already did it a little bit more, I feel. Like the highlight here on the shoulder, on the face is already really bright. You had also some small highlights on the God damn it, on sword. The sword. Thank you. I think that's really, really good. That's what you have to do. Like in this one, what you could also do, you see, in the same kind of thinking, is add a little bit more value, a little bit more information. Here, you see, it's all black. And even though it's in the shadow, we understand that it should be less apparent. I feel like if you add, something a little bit more dramatic, all right? So add maybe another lighting to try to highlight this this skull right here. So I'm gonna try something here, but so maybe there's a glowing of that green that comes just on the side right here to just light it up. You see, and that's a small detail. It doesn't need to be more than that, but that is going to add a little bit more reading to your illustration, and another level of reading. And then it's adding like details that are really easy to put, but are really, really nice to look at. So yeah, I hope this is helping. Yeah.
Yeah, no, really great job with that. I wanted to weigh in with one more thing also. I feel in terms of if there's one thing you're asking how to, like where to keep pushing it to push your professionalism. I feel like the details in the rendering are incredibly well done. I feel like the composition could potentially is an area you could improve on in terms of, so that painting there, I feel like the character is hanging a bit too far to the right. It's throwing
That's true.
the
Let me
piece
just
off
see if
balance a
it's
bit.
just not my cropping or if it's his painting.
Ah, okay, that could be.
Just let me verify that, because I'm just gonna put everything together. But no, yeah, no, that's side to side. So yeah,
Maybe
that's
using
absolutely true.
the rule of thirds. If you wanted to really quickly, I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but maybe you could really quickly cover that, show that, David.
Well, there's a few ways to do composition, guys, and one of them is I don't know if it's the rule of thirds I'm going to show you, but one of them is you have that on a camera basically. You have usually when you divide the space, and I think actually if I crop something, it shows it. Let me just check. Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, it's the rule of thirds.
Basically, you have like a square in the middle, and you should always have what's really important touching one of those X. You have one X here, one X here, one X there. And your character is just a little bit too much to the side. If you bring it just a little bit here to this line, it's gonna be right on the spot, which is interesting to look at. And it's gonna give you a great composition just by that. So that's a really, really easy trick to have. Another thing that that doesn't help is your sword here. It's too close of the edge of the illustration right now. So it does a tangent to your eye, which is kind of weird. It brings you out of the illustration. You don't really want that. You see, the sword here is really good because it directs you to the skull, and that's really cool. If you were to just bring those two a little bit more closer, and then maybe have some grass that goes into that character, then you would have a nice reading of all that all together. And you have already the arrows that are pointing to your sword, and then the sword to the skull, and then you would have the grass that goes back to your character, and there you would have something that the eye of the viewer always stays with your composition. But because of that sword here, as soon as I get there, I'm getting there a little bit. And if you put all those characters here just a little bit more that way, that sword is going to bring to this character, which really I just realized it was there. So if that sword was just a little bit here, it would point me directly to him, and it would be easier for me to read that character as well. So I think it's really an easy fix. I can just even show you right now. I'm just gonna, which is illustration? That's this one, I guess. Just gonna do this. So just take that like this, and this, and this. I'm gonna make an art copy. I'm doing Command J for that, and I'm just gonna boop, a little bit down.
You got to make the sound effects while you're doing it too, of course.
The sound effect, the booms, all that. I'm just gonna a little bit, and I'm gonna obviously just paint on top of this one here, just to make disappear that. We don't need that for now. There you go. So I think that just that already would be a little bit better, and even maybe bringing that closer. Maybe, not even sure, but you could try. You could just try stuff and just this, and I think that would be a better composition already. But beside that, really good job. You got a great portfolio. Just put a little bit more time on your rendering, on your lighting, and your shadows, and I think you're gonna have a kick-ass portfolio, man.
Yeah, really great stuff. One thing from the chat also, he's saying, Richard was saying, what's funny is when I printed it on canvas, the whole thing was super dark. And I think that's a very common thing. Generally, everything you print, everything on a screen is always going to look much lighter than when you print it.
Yeah,
so if it is for print, make sure to really boost
and that's why those kind of details are super important, you see, because that whole area was just black. You print that, and there's not enough like difference into the values and the tone for the printer to be able to print it. So more like never put black, basically. All right, black is just like the last resort when you really need to have like a little piece somewhere that is really dark in a scene like that. But otherwise, use a dark green, use a dark brown. You see for the pants here, and that way you can use black to add just that little bit of contrast between two values. Like to give you an example on the pants here. That's the last thing I'm going to do on this speech because I have other things to do. But like if I were to just light up a little bit that thing with maybe with the green again, just, whoops. Okay, put that on top of it. Just a little bit of green. See, it's going to give me a little bit more of that reading, like the moon is reflecting on the grass, and the grass is reflecting the green on his pants. And therefore, what I have here, it's easier to read the pants because right here, I have a contrast between the green and the black, and that's going to be readable not only for your eyes, but also for the printer. That's going to be easier for the printer to print. So yeah, adding a little bit more of those things everywhere, those double reflection is going to help a lot.
All right,
yeah.
cool. No, great job with that, Richard. I also just remembered, if anyone's interested in learning a bit more about composition, there's at the beginning of the Charlie Bowater tutorial, she touches on that. So it's a good place to get a bit of a crash course into that.
Yeah, that tutorial is really awesome. If you guys didn't see it yet, I strongly suggest having a look at it. Iliam, Fabian, I'm clicking on every artwork that people submitted, but I know there was a question also without artwork. So if you pass one, just read the question and I'll answer it.
All right, we'll do, yeah. Okay, so this one's from Helium End, who was saying, so I created this piece for Easter. It wasn't received as well as I hoped. I feel like the colors were what really let the piece down. Do you agree or disagree? Also, I wanted to keep things simple by using a combination of soft shading and cell shading. Where did I go wrong in terms of color and the way color was used?
I'm not familiar with the word cell shading. I'm guessing it's color blocking, maybe?
Yeah, it's like having, I'm not familiar with the word color blocking, but cell shading is where you have like shapes of color, like areas of color within often like, yeah, right.
All right. Well, listen, there's no secret to what people like and what people don't like on the internet. If there was a secret, I think we all would be super popular, right? It's really hard to know what's going to be viral, what's not going to be viral. I can say that I don't think it's colors. It depends on so many things. It's hard for me to say. Like, I cannot tell you why it was not popular. I can tell you what to fix on it, though, to make it better a little bit, and maybe that's going to add a little bit more views. I think that in this case, I don't know if you had a reference picture for the pause, but the pause seems a bit off. And there's a few things I want to point out, like the arm. The arm should be a little bit longer, and it feels like you want to put some foreshortening on it, but it's not quite there. I would feel. Also, I feel like I'm just gonna add a little bit here, and there we go. And I feel like she should, like her whole torso should be shifted a little bit. This should be a little bit more like there, I would say. That seems a little bit better. What do you think, Fabian? I think that's just make it.
Sorry, I was checking the form there. I didn't see the before and after.
So from there, you could just add a little bit more legs. It's missing. The arm, like I said, the arm should be different. I guess that should go a little bit more low like this. And then it could just turn here. Just already that would be a little bit more like the perspective. So I feel like you should have maybe a reference to help you with this one. Also, I feel like a shadow would have helped a lot. I'm just gonna put that here. Put here. And just this. So yeah, I'm just gonna do this, do that. Send that. Okay. Just gonna invert that. So yeah, a shadow would help. Have just a soft shadow, maybe something just to ground the character a little bit more. I think that's going to be too soft, but just going to transform it, I guess. So it's maybe that and something like that. And from there, I'm just going to put them there. And yeah, so just having something to ground her is going to help a lot, I think. That's not quite the right shadow, but it gives you an example. So just grinding her would have been already better. And from that point, maybe just adding a little bit more time on details. What people like to see on a piece, it's details. So one of the things that you could have done that it's really easy at this point would have been to make disappear the lines. So decide from the shadow, I see that there's a kind of shadow like from the top left right now. And try to make disappear the lines from there. I'm just going to take a brush to do this. So obviously, here that would be totally white. But then what you can do is just add some more tones. For that, I'm just going to go ahead here, select that, and just something that it's white. It's hard to put a highlight, so maybe you can just transform that into something that's gray, and then you can go back with the highlight of the white. So already that's going to help.
So I guess the look, cell shading is generally, I think, with line work.
Is it?
But
okay.
I'm pretty sure, like, well, play around with adding gradients and stuff to it on top of the line work, maybe. And also maybe neaten the line work up, I'd say also. It's very looking.
True that. So just try to, well, if you want to keep the line, then definitely do that. And I'll show a trick about lines later because someone is asking about that. But I feel like if you just rendered a little bit more, it would have been better. That's one thing. But if you want to keep the line, then I guess the rendering part is it's not going to work. But adding still a little bit more values and the different places could help. Even if you keep the lines, just adding a little bit more of darkened places and lightened places, like under here, just a little bit darker here. See, it's going to make pop certain areas a little bit more. Do the same thing for under the neck. And just take a darker tone here. And just like, all right, so that's darker. And then you got a really dark, whoops, got a really dark place here. So that could be another place you can just add something darker. That's supposed to be darker, and adding just a little bit more of those patches of yours is going to make pop everything. Also, highlights, reflection, like your egg looks a little bit flat, even though you put like a shadow there. You could have a highlight on top of it, maybe. So I'm just going to select this, that, and that. And from there, you can simply maybe add something that it's just going to add like a highlight right there. And then maybe color dodge. I really like to do this color dodge. And just have some sort of a golden shiny egg a little bit. Then again, I showed this technique in the glowing goal, where I show you how to do jewels. But yeah, just adding a little bit more of highlights of shadows, like even the tie could have a little bit more details. Just take another brush for that. Just having a patch of like, all right, so that's lighter there and darker on the opposite side. Just render it a little bit. Obviously, if you didn't want to have like a rendering of it, then I guess.
Well, you can still add details through like flat colors, I guess. So yeah, I would agree with David. I think just adding more details would definitely be I mean, the kind of the way you've done it with the hair on the right, there's like a dark spot through a flat color. You could just as well apply the same kind of concepts that David's using, but just with hard brushes and like flat areas.
But yeah, basically it's that. Like I said, there's no secret to know what people like, what people don't like. I have plenty of those that I posted. I was like, oh, this is my best piece. I'm going to have 1 million likes on them. And then I posted online. and literally nobody except my mom put a like on it, and that's always just a slap in the face.
I'll try to give you a like, David. So you've got two.
So just don't let yourself go down because of that. You're not in the head of people. You don't know. Maybe they had a busy day, maybe whatever. Like especially during Easter, maybe they had something else. It doesn't mean that your piece was not good. So just keep working at it, really. But yeah, if that helps, I like your piece. I think it's a nice piece. Maybe just like I said, just a little bit more work on it would make it a little bit better.
Yeah, well done. Keep it up.
All right, who's next? Kinga.
Yes. So no comment to this
Kinga.
one? So.
No comment to this one, so I'm guessing just a general feedback.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kinga. It's a nice piece, lots of details. Two things: composition. I feel like the composition is a bit off. I feel like it's a piece that would have been better if it was centered. So just boop, center it would help a lot. I feel that that's already better. And the general values, like if you put something in black and white like this, and you put over there, and you're able to distinguish the main character, then it's a really hard illustration to read. The colors help a little bit, so I can see that there's two parts when it's color. Black and white, I cannot even see it. But what happened here is really there's too much of the same values everywhere, like too much high and low values everywhere. So I think the one thing that's going to make it pop is decide what you want to have as a #1 reading. So like there's always like three kind of staged reading, like the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Right now, everything is on the same one. So you have to distinguish. Like, so what you could do is, and I'm going to do that real fast, all right, just to give you an example so you understand. So this is in no way something that is going to be finished, but I'm just going to take a piece of the artwork which is in front, like this. I'm just going to make a selection. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to add a little bit of darker tones, maybe darker orange, though. And I'm going to put it on multiply. So just something that becomes darker. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the background. So I'm just going to select, basically what I want is just to make sure that the character in the middle pops, because obviously the character should be the most important thing. So I'm making a quick example so you understand what I'm saying. There we go. I'm going to take that. And then I'm going to darken that whole area, especially over the head here, and maybe that and that. OK, so you see, at least from here, I can see that there's a character a little bit more. So just try to separate them. And if you don't like the fact that it's separate like that, then just make sure that the character, at least in the middle, is, and for that, I'm just going to keep the selection that I had right there. Just at least make sure that just where the edges of the character is, that there's a contrast. So either you make it more black all around her, like this, so it pops, and then you can keep the background as busy as you want. But really, it's all about the contrast right now here. We don't see enough contrast between her in the background and her in the foreground, and they kind of all melt together. And even though there's a lot of details, we're losing the whole image as itself. So a little bit more, a little bit like I was giving the same advice earlier. Just take more time. Like if I take that horn here, I'm just gonna make I'll take that piece like that. If you take that horn, just take your time a little bit more. Maybe there's a reflection that comes from the fire on that horn, so just like that. That's going to help just reading that part of it. And then maybe on the other side, and you know what, I'm going to put that to screen, I guess. No, color dodge. Yeah, maybe color dodge. And then maybe on the other side, what you would have is the opposite, like a reflection from green that you have, blue-green that you have all around here, to just help reading a little bit more. And all those, you have to do this pretty much at all the places that you have difficulty to read. So obviously, it's just a question of spending a little bit more time painting the details all over your character. Try to remember where's your general lighting as well. Like at this point, I feel like it's kind of front-ish, but then she has it a little bit more from the side for her face, and then here it seems like it's coming from under here. You see here it comes like it's from there, and then the light on the hair looks like it's from there. So you got a lot of different lighting that comes from there, and really I feel like the lighting that is the most bright is the fire, which is all this section here. I was trying to change the color here. All this section here, that's the fire, and that's going to give you a direction really like this. And then you got that blue, all this, and that's going to be like that. So that should be your main true lighting. So try to remember that when you do an artwork, and because it's really important. Adding light there and there, like it's proper to your imagination too. You could add some really different direction to the light a little bit, but in this case, there's so many that are so different that it becomes really, really hard to read. So yeah, so that would be basically my my advice on this one. There's a lot of details, but we're losing the general aspect of the whole illustration because of the rendering and the lighting. Like even the hair, like you did like lots of details in them, but if you were to just maybe decide where the lighting comes from, you would realize that all the yellow that's here should come from the fire, so it should be at the bottom, not on the top. And then you would take that yellowish and just place it around here, and then you would have something maybe a little bit more bluish on the top of the hair to just light up from the blue. So yeah, there would be a lot of work to redo this one, but I think in general, like as an artwork, I think it's a nice piece. I think it's just a little bit too hard to read right now. Tabian, did you want to say something about this one?
No, I think you covered pretty much exactly how I felt about it as well. So yeah, great job with the details and everything, and yeah, just work on the kind of overall composition and readability of it.
All right.
We also had a question actually from Jeff in the chat. I think it came in the last piece when you were using color dodge. He was asking why you like using color dodge as opposed to choosing a color or value.
It's just easy. It's easier, and sometimes you use color dodge, and it's going to create that new color that you didn't expect to have, and it kind of brings something new. They're both okay. I take fully advantage of the fact that if I were to just change the color, I could have done that with like any kind of other medium. But working digitally gives you the opportunity to do those things, and I really like to do it.
Cool.
So, okay, so here we have Robert.
Yes, 1 second. Yeah, Robert would just like a general critique.
All right. Well, it's good. I see progress, Robert. You've been posting your work last week and last month. I mean, I see progress. You still have problem with your measurement a little bit. So it's all about taking more time, I would say. But you're getting closer and closer. Just have the time to play some repairs. I'm just going to take another color here. So like here, the hair and the eyebrow are on the same level, and here what you did is the ear is too low. So do those before you do anything. Okay, place a few lines. Where's the chin aligning with? Where's the ear aligning with? Where's the eye aligning with? Have this first, and then try to do the geometric, and then try to do the loose and final sketch. That's going to help you a lot, because right now I think that you're doing just by observation, which is good. But you have to work on your observation as well as you have to work on your skill as an illustrator. So do those lines first, and then do this. I think it's going to help you a lot, because this is pretty much what I see on each of them. You just need to visually see that. Like another one here, it's really easy to spot. You see like that angle here versus that angle here. Like you see that this part should be smaller than this one, and here it's like bang in the middle. So just those things. Do a few lines on your pictures. Just learn from them. Then you also posted that puppy, which good job. But then again, you were saying that I was telling you to give me something bigger. Yeah, this is too pixelized for me to really know what kind of brush you use and everything. But the general lighting of it is really nice. The general rendering is really cool too. So that's really good. Here, it's great. You understand. You understand the values. That's good. I think that everything is a little bit more soft though. You could add a few art lines. So if you look at the exercise again, you'll see that I use the art edge brush from time to time and the soft round brush. Try to do this for those. I think that everything here has been done with the soft round brush, and that gives them a really fluffy look. So a little bit more art edge on this would be nice. And from here, that's really good. You just need a little bit more rendering, I think. I see that you put a lot of texture on it. But what you would need is to just render a little bit more. Make sure that everything is a little bit more rounded. You wanted to put the texture, and yeah. Just render a little bit more. It's going to help. But beside that, good job. I see improvement week after week.
Yeah, definitely. I think you joined with like absolutely no understanding of digital painting, so it's been very cool seeing your improvement.
Yeah.
Regarding the resolution question, did you want to cover that now or?
No.
Or
can you go ahead? I need to step out for a second. If you have questions in the chat.
Is your tablet?
No, the tablet is okay. If you have questions in the chat, just ask Fabien. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay.
I guess I am now hanging out awkwardly by myself here. I love when this happens. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll just wait for David to get back. I'll cover the resolution thing real fast. There's no like one size fits all. It obviously depends on a number of things, whether like what the final sorry, now my words have all gone. Like what you're making the painting for, whether it's for print, whether it's for just purely digital. Try to make them at least, if you're working at 72 DPI, I think that's David's rule of thumb, is like at least 3,000 pixels on the shortest side. And that's just going to ensure that you've got enough detail in everywhere. Obviously, it also depends a bit on how powerful your computer is. If you're on a slower computer, it might get too laggy when you're working at too big of a size. So I guess as a rule of thumb, just work at the largest size that you comfortably can without your computer getting too laggy. So just start with a huge document. And if you find that once it's layered up and you're using tools like, especially if you're using the smudge tool, for example, or liquefiers, or things that use a lot of processing power, you might find that slows down a bit then. So you can just kind of resize it, make it smaller until you find that it's becoming more workable. If you are doing it for print, always work at 300 DPI. I think that's just a good habit anyways, to always set your document to 300 DPI. You know, you never know what you want to use something for in the future. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. So 2 questions in the chat. Richard's asking what we use to record and edit our video tutorials. So this is on on just YouTube Live, which works well enough. Every once in a while we have some issues, it won't start up properly, but for the most part, works pretty well. And I believe David uses ScreenFlow for his tutorials. So if you want to ever film your screen while, if you want to create a speed painting of your work, I know ScreenFlow is very good for that. You can do it if you're on a Mac. QuickTime Player is a free alternative. It's a little bit, like the video is a little bit choppier though. So, and you can't edit it properly afterwards. You have to use something like iMovie. And Robbie's asking whether I've checked out Overwatch. I'm assuming that's because of my name. I haven't yet, but I've heard that a lot. So I guess I do need to check that out. I've heard it recommended a lot. So I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing. I don't know whether I think it's the Reinhardt character. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing to be associated, but yes, that is my name. All right, so I guess we'll just take a short break of 2-3 minutes. I'm just going to mute my microphone before I bore you to death with my awkward blabbering, and we'll just pick it up when David's back. So stay tuned. All right, I think David's back. Are you still with us, David?
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry for that, guys. I'm back now. All right, so, okay. Shall we jump to the next one? Were you explaining something?
I was just covering resolution, but
okay, cool.
Nope, all good for you to continue.
All right, so we have the artwork of Peter.
Yeah, Peter was just saying that critique would be very welcome.
All right, and I'll give you critique. You have really nice pieces.
No holds barred.
Sorry?
So feel free to. He's checked no holds barred, so feel free to.
Oh, all right. So you have really nice pieces. You obviously know your way around a tablet. What would make it better, I think, it's just, I wish you gave me the reference for these ones. It would be easier. Like there's a few things, like the highlights of the nose. I know it's always pleasant to put highlights. I love to do it. But sometimes you need to tone them down a little bit because the highlights on the nose are just too bright like this. Just put too emphasis on the nose itself. So just maybe tone that a little. Basically, all the highlights, they're super sharp. That's what I see first. And they're so sharp that it kind of makes the whole painting a little bit more like geometric, if you know what I mean. So just by toning the transition of the tone of the skin tone, well, skin, it's green for now, but I like the color that you've been using, but I guess it's not skin tone. But it's like greenish. If you tone them down, the changes of values, it's going to soften the illustration a little bit. Now, maybe this is the style that you wanted to give, and then forget everything that I'm saying right now. But if it wasn't a style and you just wanted to render it as close as possible from the illustration, then just make sure that you soften a little bit more. It's going to help the transition between all the different things, like such as this. Because right now she has like a more masculine nose, and now I'm trying to soften it up just a tiny bit more feminine. So I'm just going to soften it up maybe even a little bit more, and then just try to add a very gentle highlight on top of her nose, just rounding it up a little bit, because it was looking kind of squarish right now, like the highlight on top of it. So harsh, and we're kind of looking too masculine. So I'm trying to just soften it up a little bit. So that's one thing that you could do at a few places. Stuff like this, I don't know if that was part of the photo reference. Like that could have been pushed or tucked away here. Maybe just have something that would. I'm gonna take the whole part here, maybe. Oh no, I'm gonna liquefy it. I'm gonna merge those two, and I'm gonna go over liquefy and just push that shoulder a little bit more, because it was kind of feeling kind of weirdish. So just kind of modifying those places. Maybe even the hair, kind of push it up a little bit. Trying to make sure that the whole pause is a bit more feminine. So yeah, just something like this would help. And I see that for each of them a little bit. Like I said, if it's a style, sorry for that. I'm just going to clear my throat a little bit. Okay, so if it's a style, then like I said, forget what I'm saying. But I feel like it would help to see your character a little bit more feminine, to just soften up a few transition, like the one under the eyes. Like if it's too sharp, too dark, like this one, it makes her look older than she is a little bit. So just softening up, like you don't have to make it disappear totally. Just something like this. It's going to help make it a little bit more feminine. But yeah, beside that, that's pretty good. I can see that there's like just like the eyes, like the transition of the lower here eyelid, kind of like the highlight on it. Obviously, there's a highlight on it, but if it's just too bright the whole way, then it kind of look too strange. So just softening up a little bit the transition, like I was saying, it's going to help. Just
one thing on that painting also, sorry if this completely interrupts your flow of the critique on this one,
no,
but
all good.
Again, I'm not sure if it's a style thing, which it does look quite cool also. I feel her skin is a little bit, it's very gray and like almost a bit dead looking, desaturated. I feel like some yellows and some oranges, maybe it's just some slightly less gray
I feel like
tones.
I
guess it is a style. Yeah. I guess
for it, because
Mhm.
mainly each of they're like kind of black and white-ish and stylish.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you wanted to try to do like something more more alive, then yes, definitely maybe adding some saturation. If it's a style, then it's a style. Yeah, same thing here. Like the cheekbone here could be just a bit softened. Like it's good to have like an art edge as a cheekbone, but right now it's kind of in the wrong angle. It makes her like whole patch here just look older, sort of. I would just kind of, I'm gonna flip the whole thing. Just softening up maybe a little bit more here. Here, just bring back that by changing the value. Sometimes you have to check at the values. You're only going to create some bumps, and those bumps are going to make her look like she's pouting. So by just making sure that you softening up a little bit, So she's not pouting anymore. So just thing like that. You see it's bringing the whole side of the face up instead of down. So that's can help. And the same comment for the nose. I feel like she has a square nose.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks quite rectangular.
And it's because you put the highlight in the corner. So you put the highlight on the corner, and then it looks like it's a corner of a square, basically. But you have to make sure that it looks round. So if you put a really sharp edge like this, then it's a corner. But if you put something that is just a little bit like in between, and that is just getting a little bit more large, then it's going to look like it's a highlight, but a really small one. Like I would also just try to softening up the transition between here and here, and just round up basically everything a little bit, just like that. So it's small details that just will bring the feminine side of that illustration. Because there's places to have like more geometric, like I like the way you put like the patches on the nose geometrically here. It's really cute, but the bridge of the nose was just too harsh, and the cheek was too harsh too. So yeah, it's a few details like there and there, but overall I like it. Obviously, when you flip the image, you can see that maybe there's something with the eye. Maybe just look at your reference. I'm guessing that maybe the eyelid on the second one here should have been maybe a little bit less bright. Just maybe just one shadow. But that's really details that you can only see if you have the reference image. It's going to be hard for me to just see exactly what's the problem just like that. But to me, there's something with the eye here. The two eyes are not really perfectly matching. So maybe just spend a little bit more time flipping the image, and that's going to help you a lot. But beside that, I really like the style that you're using right now. It's really nice.
Yeah, very nice. Great proportions, great details. Like David said, just some minor improvements here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep it up.
All right, next we have
Olivia. Yes. So Olivia was saying, this is not finished work. I'm still working on it. Wanted to ask how you would paint the short mustache and beard.
All right, I'll show you that. If you're in the chat, Olivia, let me know, why is he crying? Is he sad? I see that you add some details. I'm guessing that you were maybe trying to do some drops, because I like to do drops as well. But he doesn't look like he's crying. That's a problem. Like he's really serious. Okay, so for how do you call that, by the way, Fabian, in English, when you have a beard like that? There's a stubble.
A stubble.
Stubble. So stubble beard. Well, you may not like what I'm going to tell you, but you have to go like piece by piece, basically. If you want to add real detail and make something really close to reality, obviously you can use a brush that will help you. Like you can add something with small particles. I'm just going to go here and try to. There you go. So something with texture like this can be used. It's going to add like a good quote at the beginning. I'm going to paint all over it and basically on a new layer. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to use an eraser and just erase the parts that I don't need. Obviously, it doesn't have beard on the nose, neither on the lips. So all that is going to be out. Am I lagging?
No, seems okay to me.
All right, so I'm just going to erase all that. So yeah, having a texture brush is going to help you add some first details that will be super long to just do by hand. But once you did that, you really have to go by hand to add like all the rest. So from there, what I would do, so you can see already, like you can see that it's beard already. But from there, what you can really do if you want to add an extra layer of like realism, well, you go ahead and you just add a few details by hand. Like he has a few small white hair and a few dark hair, and you just literally go there and you paint what you need to do. And that's going to take you forever, yes. but that would be the next step. Otherwise, you can just use the brush like I just did, and it's already giving.
I feel like it'd be better to use a brush with like shorter lines in it.
For the texture?
Yeah, like they almost look like cracks more than hairs.
Yeah, I don't have a brush that would be like
exactly
for that. That was just the closest that I have. But obviously, you would have to try a few brushes and see which one for you does the best trick. Depending on how realistic you want to go, for me, that brush would be like good enough, I think, to just have that look of a stubble beard. But that's basically how I would do it. And for the overall covering up of this image, I would have to tell you to just render a few places. You can see that the values are a little bit too high on the illustration. Just try to render a little bit more values, especially over here. Just a little bit more. That's too dark here. And you can bring that a little bit. It really helps you to just have a bit more observation to it. That's going to help you. So just adding the values where they need to be, just like that. Just bring back the value, because right now this is yours and it looks a little bit flat. So just rendering a little bit more, it's going to look a little bit more 3D. It's going to help to read it. Also, you could add a little bit more shadow in the eye. Right now it's just too bright. So just painting the shadows in the eye is going to help. That's a bit too dark, maybe. There you go. So yeah, just a few details like this is going to help a lot. Okay, do.
Good stuff. And yeah, keep it up, Olivia. Looking good.
Key Riven. I know there was a question. Did we miss some question in between that didn't have any illustration?
Yes. If you get started on this one, I'll quickly have a look at the questions and
okay, cool.
Paraphrase them for you. So this one, T. Rivens was saying, "Hi guys, I'm struggling with this painting. Not sure if the structure is correct and the teeth aren't quite right. I can't get the eyes to match also. It lacks charm compared to the reference."
All right.
So
I'm going to give you a quick trick to realize what's not working. All right, and for me, it's always to go and see the geometric shapes that you can have in everything. So I'm going to go just check and have another brush here. That should be done. All right, so if you look at your reference picture, you can see that that's clearly a triangle to me, right? But here, you're kind of missing a triangle. Your triangle goes like this right here. So you have to match the shapes, basically. And to do that, well, you just take a little bit more time, observe a little bit more. I'm going to flip the image for me. It's going to help. So you go ahead and you look at, all right, so that should be a little bit more like this. And just try to render the whole part. It's a very it's very difficult sometimes because you have to take your time, and like right now I'm pressing almost none force on my tablet. It's putting too much pressure is going to add too much values, and you just have to check. There's like a few patches here that are not dark enough. It's really difficult, actually. It's a difficult image, I think, that you choose. So if you're not used to observe values, you're going to have a hard time with this one. So just small things like that can make a huge difference. But you saw that it's not drastic changes, and that's why it's a difficult image, because you're going to have to do that all over. Another thing is the eye. Can see that like sometimes the slight difference in the values will do a huge difference. Also, like the hair, like look at the measurement. Like here, you got like a lot too much space compared to there. So obviously that should be 1. But once you're going to move this, you're going to realize that there's something else somewhere that it's not at the right place. But at least if you move slowly those things, piece by piece, you're going to get slowly a little closer each time. I can see that. You see there's a shadow in the corner of the eye right there. You have to place that shadow right here. So you have to check all those small shadows. You see here it's supposed to be darker as well. Much darker, actually. See, it's going to bring the eye together. Then you see the corner of the mouth is pitch black. Yours is gray. So you have to go there and put the pitch black. It's going to help the texture of the teeth. The teeth are a tiny bit too bright. So you would have to just paint on them to make sure that's the right. Also the teeth itself, I feel like it's maybe a little bit like this one is too long or something. And you got different values in them. So from there, it's really detail work, which I won't go too in detail here. But yeah, so you have to double check the values. The nose here seems a bit crooked from there. You can see that you should have like a sharper edge under the nose here. And yeah, really, it's just take each part separately, the values, and replace them. It's really it's patient work at this point, because you're almost there. You already put all the values. You just really need to look. All right, so like this corner of the nose, it's supposed to be darker. The whole corner of the nose is darker, but here, just a bit brighter, and you can see that this is supposed to give you like a round shape around here with the highlight on top of it. And the eyebrow is supposed to be just a bit lighter and a bit thicker. So yeah, just take your time, analyze everything. It's really important because each time you're going to do observational drawing, it's all about observation, right? So to take your time before you even draw, to take your time to observe before you even draw is absolutely important. It's going to help you understand how the images build, which therefore is going to give you the tools you need to build it. So basically, you just, small details like that is going to bring everything back slowly. Just go over each of them and look at them. See, let me point at a few here so you can do it afterwards. You see this? That's like a small triangle. See a triangle here? Much bigger. And also, it's a bit darker here. It's a bit more pale here. Look at the overshape here. That's kind of a triangle here, right? And your triangle here, it's a bit too short. And for that, I think it's because your neck maybe it's supposed to be longer here. It's shorter here. Well, it's actually exactly that. See, that's longer than it is there. So it means that your neck should be taller, should be longer. Small details like that, just put a few lines on your list on your photo. Check where everything is supposed to align. You see that eyebrow is supposed to be a tiny bit over this next one here, and the corner of your mouth. Corner of your mouth supposed to align with the eye. Is your mouth too big here? Probably. You see that the size of that you have between the mouth and the nose compared to there. So just go over that, look everything what's different, and it's going to give you exactly where you're supposed to do this. But you already have a great start. You just need a little bit more time, a little bit more patience on it. Fabian.
Yes. One thing also too, I'm not sure actually whether you covered that because I was in the forum, but one kind of rule of thumb that I've found applies quite well is when painting teeth, try not to, even if in the reference you can kind of see it that way, but never actually paint the line all the way down the teeth. Just like paint the very top and the bottom of that line between them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
What he means is sometimes you will just go ahead. Also, for what I see here, crooked T time. So this you can start from the top here and just paint like the guns a little bit, and then in between, you don't really need necessarily the separation. You can just have like the bottom like this here, and that's going to help already. But yeah, the teeth, you'll have to have a closer look at them. I strongly suggest have a hard copy, so do Command J and bring your teeth really side by side, because this is going to take a lot of time. You see there's a lot of small highlights everywhere. So just take your time. Look at the overshape of the mouth. I can see that it's longer on this side. Just have an overlook. The bottom lip should be a little bit thicker. So all those things, you know, the cheek should be a little bit longer and everything. Just take your time, really, and just keep at it. It's a good job so far.
No, really great job with that. And yeah, keep going with it. So the questions that people had asked without artwork, the first one, it's actually great timing on that question, comes from Mikhail, who's asking about drawing nice smooth lines and having a more cartoony / storyboardy feel style for sketches. Also asking, maybe, do you know some tips, settings, or advice you can give for brushes to give nice lines? I heard about Lazy Nezumi, but it doesn't work with Mac. Do you know any alternative apps? So there's 3 or 4 kind of questions for you.
We do. We were about to actually send a video, I think, soonish.
Yeah, there's actually a blog post coming most likely next Thursday.
All right. But I'll give you...
covers that exact question.
I'll give you the upfront, guys, so you'll have the VIP of this. The Lazy Nezumi is great for PC. It's absolutely great. And there's one for Mac, guys. I actually have it. It's this one here. It's called A Stylus, and it's pronounced A-E.
Right now, I'll pronounce that. So. H-E-J Stylus, so S-T-Y-L-U-S, I think.
Yeah.
However you spell that.
Basically, it does the same thing. You see, if you were about to try to... I'm going to take another brush for that. If you're about to try to do the contour of this, if you go slowly from time to time, it's going to have a wibbly line. But this one, if I put it on, whoops. I got to go through all them now. There we go. You put it on, you see it's going to appear the little face. And basically, it's going to do this. I'm going to put it bigger so you guys can see what I mean. Is that big enough? Yeah, there we go. So each time I'm going to paint, you're going to see there's a little line that appears, a black line, and basically it's going to reach that dot, and then it's going to start pulling my my brush. And that way I'm able to take your time. Obviously, this is just for an example. I would take that line a lot smaller. Actually, I put myself a preset for me. And basically, it's going to help me just have a smoother line. I can take my time this time, and it's going to give me real smooth line each time. So that's the trick. If you have a problem with your lines, you can absolutely take this. It's called Hey Stylus. Fabian, do you want to put the link? Maybe
yeah, I've already put the link in the chat.
So you guys can purchase it. How much is it?
I think it's $15.
Yeah, so it's absolutely like affordable, and you'll see it's going to help you a lot. Personally, I don't do lines, but I know there's a lot of people that like it. So this is what you should have to help you.
And for the rest, yep, keep an eye out. Next Thursday, got a new blog post with 3 tips on improving your line work.
Yeah.
So the second question was about ergonomy. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Of using a laptop and a drawing tablet. Do you keep one in front of the other? Saying, I used to do so, often keeping the tablet on my knees, which sounds incredibly uncomfortable. Or do you keep the laptop on the left, tablet on the right? What's your ergonomic setup?
Well, my setup is I have my tablet beside my computer. That's the way I prefer to work. So basically, I don't like, I work really like, I have one end on my laptop for my shortcut, and I got by its side my tablet with my pen, and I draw like this. But this is proper to everybody. Maybe this is not working for you. Maybe it's working on your knees. Maybe it's working in front of it. This is really up to you. I can only speak for me. For me, it's on the side, and it works well that way. I don't think there's a good or a bad way. If it works for you, it works for you.
I mean, ideally, you want whatever screen you have to be somewhat at eye level in front of you, and your hand, to be on the left. So, I mean, if you have like an extended keyboard, like a Magic Keyboard or something, that could be something to experiment with, keeping the laptop straight in front of you and the keyboard on the left. But yeah, you're going to need one hand on the keyboard always. So, I guess having the laptop on the left, like David does. But yeah, like you said, it's a matter of just experimenting and see what works best for you. If you're in pain afterwards, then it's wrong, I guess. So use that as a rule of thumb. Question from Mr. J. It's a bit of an open-ended one. I'm not sure if how much you'll be able to answer this. He's asking, how did you find your workflow to digital painting?
Well, I took my workflow with like lots of, it took time. I try new techniques every week still today, and I keep what I like and I reject what I don't like, and that's how you develop your own style, and that's how you develop your workflow. Obviously, there's stuff that, depending on what kind of work you're doing, is going to be more relevant. Like if you do work for a client, then it's important to have a workflow that allows you to go backwards if you have mistakes. So what I would like to do, if it's colored, I would start with flat color, and then I would start rendering with the basic shadows and basic highlights. And once all that's done, then I go into details. So that's one way. There's another way that I really like that I showed when I was doing the illustration for the glowing gold. Was starting straight with texture brush, and that's a more personal way to work, though. So there's different ways, really. You just have to try stuff and see what it works for you. But obviously, if you try something that it's like step by step, like you put the lines and then the flat colors and the rendering, it's going to be easier for you to do work for clients. Yeah.
Cool.
I couldn't say that I have like something like really precise even to this day.
No, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's like you said, it's not really something that's set in stone. It's just a matter of experimenting always, and it's going to be unique to everyone themselves. Sorry, can't give you like a do this, do that kind of answer, but it's essentially like David said, just keep experimenting. So this piece is from Larry P, who's saying, I'm pretty much a beginner. How can I add texture and believability to the hair, clothing, and glasses?
Well, you have to paint it. You could add texture, just like a texture from whatever you want. For the clothing, when it comes to the hair, then it's all about shadows and light. She has a big hair, and the light is coming from the top, what I see from what you already rendered. So basically, you have to think about that. So what I would do is I would paint probably a highlight on top of her hair. I'm going to go quick here. So you would have like the light that comes from the top here. And then if you want to add some details, you just have to see what's going to be more highlighted. Maybe there's some patches at some places that are more highlighted, and then you're going to have the same thing under it at some places, darker patches. So it's really about just rendering the whole thing and taking your time. It's the same thing for anything, really. If you were to render a sphere or anything, it's just you have to take your time and render each part. So that would how I would do just the hair. I would just paint it, really. Just have the dark places where there's the shadow, and then I would paint some highlights. And you have to go into details, really. For the clothing, you could add just a texture, which I don't have, really, or you could have some brush texture. So like something with a little bit more texture to it. And just like having texture brushes like that and add a few highlights at the right spot, it's going to help a lot. And then maybe there's a small reflection under the breast because it's bouncing from the clothing. And yeah, you just keep adding like this texture. Really, it's really simple. I prefer to add texture with brushes than with texture itself, but you could add a texture with any kind of blending mode here, from screen to overlay. You can try them all and see what works best, and then play with the opacity to have something a little bit toned down or not. I think the texture will help, but really the best way to have a great illustration is to think about the general lighting. Like if there's a light that comes from the top, that means that that whole puffy hair is going to cast a really dark shadow on her, which which that's going to be that's too dark. But yeah, like a really dark shadow that could just go all the way here almost. That's going to be like the shadow here. I'm just going to put it to transparency here. So see that there's that poofy shadow, and now you can really understand that there's a light coming from the top that casts that shadow. But all you're going to be like to do this, just details, think about your lighting. If there's something on the top of something, then it's casting a shadow. Otherwise, you'll see the highlight of the light. So that's how I would do.
Cool.
I hope that's going to help. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster for the next two ones.
Yes, we're running out of time. So
running out of time right now.
But yeah, no, great job with that, Larry. And looking forward to seeing. He's saying he's going to begin the exercises next week, so looking forward to seeing those. So the next question is from Dobromir, who's saying in this piece, I was going to make like a battle in an arena type setting where two warriors are getting ready to fight. I'm having difficulty with the process. I can't quite put them in the right mood.
Okay.
So I guess some feedback on that.
The right mood depend. What do you mean by the right mood? Is it because there's a few things you can change?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few things you can change. You can change the posture of your warriors and have them a little bit more in action pause. Right now, they're pretty much standing and looking at each other. So, you know, having, I don't know, maybe he has a leg. I'm just gonna take something brighter. Maybe he has a leg at the back, you know, ready to fight, and the other one is a bit more like this, and then he's like, I don't know, he's ready to battle with his leg a little bit more postured. Like the posture itself could help a lot, but if we're talking about the mood in terms of like the general ambiance of this, I think you already have a great piece. The few things that I see is maybe I would just get rid of this. This seems to just distract me for no reason. And then I would maybe have, you see there's a bright, obviously maybe you didn't do it here, but there's a bright shadow here, so which means that you should have a crisp highlight on his face, I guess, all his face and all his clothing, like that should be like all highlighted. That's gonna help already to have like details and everything. And for what I see, the whole arena is really bright and sharp. If you put any detail in that, it's going to be really long. Maybe you want to blur that and just put more emphasis on the character itself. But definitely, I think what's the most is going to help, and that's going to ask you for a little bit of research, especially if that angle. It's not an easy angle, but having a more dramatic, a more heroic pause. Because there's a foreshortening here, like, and I'm not an expert when it comes to foreshortening, but really having like something that it's just a little bit more, dramatic. Maybe he's running right now from the side. I'm gonna take another brush. I don't like this one. Maybe he's running from the side like this, and he has it's right there. and he has his lance in his hand, ready to throw it to him like this. And he has his hand right there, like something just a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more like he's running. And then maybe you can blur the whole character because he's actually running. And him, I can see that you try to foreshadowing for the arm, and I know this is really hard. I really have trouble with this too. But maybe he's waiting for him to throw his lance. So maybe his shield is a bit more up at this point. So something a little bit more like right there, which would show that you would have the arm that just protects him right there. Something a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more actiony. Yeah, and maybe he's looking at that because right now the way you placed the head, it looks like he's looking up front, when in fact he should look on the side over here. So maybe just replacing that arch here, it's going to make sure that it feels like he's looking over there. Yeah, and maybe turning a little bit the character. Right now it's really like back to us, full back. Maybe it should be a little bit more in angle, you know, something a little bit more like this with his head there. Because right now it's just really flat in front of us. But all those things obviously are really hard to do. I would have to take a little bit more time. It's going to take you a little bit more research, but I think that's one thing. If they're about to fight, you really need to show them that they're like ready for action. Right now, they're just standing there for now. And because there's no details everywhere, it looks more theatrical than a fight. That's my personal opinion. Fabian, did you have anything to say about this?
I think you covered that pretty well.
All right.
Yeah.
But beside that, really nice piece. I'm looking really forward to see the development of this one.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to seeing it in color also, if it is coming in color.
All right.
All right. Yes, so that last one was from Dobermere. So yeah, well done again, Dobermere. This one is from Trippy, who was asking, I don't think the lighting or colors work in harmony in this piece, and it appears quite muddy. Could I have some help? Cool, by the way, for a piece.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you have very few colors. The harmony is, I would say, is almost working. What I would do if I were you, I would just, when you're not sure about the harmony, just take off of the color that you put. All right, so take off the green especially. I think the blue could work. But just take out the green for now. The blue could work actually, and that would work. It looks muddy because you've been really patchy the way you painted. You need to just take more of your time. You see, I see the strokes here that you put everywhere, and that's why it's looking a bit muddy. Also, the highlight that you put here with the green, if like the green just seems to not work, I guess, for here. Kind of makes the whole illustration a little bit more muddy, in fact. Maybe you want to put a blue instead of a green, and that would work better instead of the green. That's already a little bit better. But from this point, you really just have to take a little bit more time. Like take everything one by one, take your time. Look at your eyes. See, like, this is like lots of reflection. We don't know exactly what's happening in those reflections. Just go back to the basic, draw your eye. Then make sure to add the shadows from the corner, and a white eye is usually not white, so just putting a little bit darker, and then you can place the highlight. I'm gonna put something here. On maybe the side, you see there's a light coming from the side here, so maybe you put it to the side. And there you go. That's your highlight for now. And maybe you have a little bit of a highlight also right there, just slightly. So yeah, just simplify everything is going to help you a lot, I think. And then adding just really control highlights then there. Because right now you've been like really patchy about it, which is good. It's good to experiment. But at some point you need to just bring back things a little bit more together. If you have a bit of the nose with a highlight, it means at the back you'll have something a little bit darker. So that's going to help you build your nose. That should be darker. See the highlight goes on the other side. No, this one. Just take a little bit more time to render everything. I strongly suggest working with reference. It's going to give you all those clues where to put your highlight and everything. It's really hard to do it by imagination when you're not used to do it. Even me, each time I'm doing an illustration, I tend to find a reference that can help me to blend everything. You have to think about light and shadow. If there's a light coming from the right, there's a shadow to the left. That's going to be always like that. So really just taking more time to just simplify everything and go back place by place and just start rendering. Use the saffron brush at few places and the art edge brush at two others. And think, if there's a light coming from the right, then there's a shadow from the left. And if it's from the top, then it's the bottom, and just always the opposite, basically. Okay. But that's about it. Beside that, good job.
Yeah, keep pushing it. Keep developing it. Especially some of the details like the eyes, the lips. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah, you see that highlight here doesn't work. It needs to be on the other side. This part of the lips, they're supposed to be darker. It might have a shadow under here. Really, I think taking a reference is going to give you a lot of clues where to put your light and shadows. But yeah, all right. I think that was the last one for today, guys.
Well, so we had one question that I just saw we missed at the very beginning from Eric. So if we cover that real fast, there's 2 pieces that have been submitted since we started. Unfortunately, we won't be able to cover these today because we only have these booths, these Skype booths for a limited time. We're already a bit over the time. So maybe if we just finish on this one last question from Eric, who's asking, I often work on different paintings, starting one, starting another the next day. So having like several projects running at the same time. And he's asking, when I have an idea, I have the same kind of brushes, brush settings, styles, and colors with each one. I'd like to know if there's a way to save brushes, color palettes, etc., to a specific painting. So when I open a new one, it has its own color palette, brushes loaded.
You have to do it manually. It's not going to open by itself. What you can do is just save swatches and then save brushes. So you go to your brush panel. To your brush panel here, and you want to, if you use a certain amount of brush, you want to first, you have to save everything that you already have. So you go over here and you do save brushes. All right, it's going to save everything. You can call it like pack, your name, and the year. That's what I do. Each year I have one pack, and I save everything there. And then you want to delete everything that you don't want to use for the illustration, I guess. So you can go to Preset Manager, and you want to delete everything that you don't want and keep only the one that you want for this illustration. And then you want to save that as a separate file. And then you can upload this by going over Load Brushes, or you can replace all your brushes if you want to have just only those. It's going to show only the brushes that you've been using with this. And it's the same kind of thing with the swatches. So what you want to do is you have only the swatches. So to create the swatches, you go over either your color wheel or here. You're like, all right, I want that color. You go over here, you click, and it's going to add the swatch right there. And from there, you want to click on the button here, and you want to save the swatches. you save the swatches. Oh, this is load. You save the swatches. You place them on your computer somewhere, and that's it. Then you load them each time that you do. Personally, I think it's going to take you a lot of time to do this. If I were you, I would just try brushes and try to have only one pack all the time and try to use all the same one. It's going to make a huge progress if you use always the same one. If you're always changing, it's always like a lot of effort to try the new ones and learn them. If you want to add brushes to your current one, though, that obviously it's nice. But try to not have different set of brushes for different illustration. Try to keep the ones that you're using all the time.
Try to have like a smaller amount and then get to know them really well, I guess. That's what David's saying. 2 tips from me. One, if you want some more tips on like organizing your brushes, we actually have a blog post on that. Just search on paintable.cc for organized brushes, I think. I'm going to put the link in the chat now also. Also, I know there's an app. Neither of us have used it. I don't think you have either, David. It's called Brushbox, I think. That is specifically for like just organizing and saving your brushes. If you have a look on Gumroad, Brushbox, I've heard it recommended, so that could be a solution for you. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm going to end it on one question from Una that we missed earlier, who was asking, any chance we can make the workshops a bit earlier, that the timing's a bit wrong or a bit awkward in Europe. So yeah, apologies for that. Like it is, we do try to make sure everyone can get to these workshops. There's obviously no way when we have students all across the globe to make it work for everyone. So we rotate it most times. So the last couple of times we've had it worked better for students in Europe. We wanted it to work better for students in Australia, these last 2 workshops now also. And don't quote me 100% on this yet, but I believe next month should be better for you in Europe again. So bear with us if sometimes it might not be the best time zone for you. We're trying to make it work for as many students as possible. So, and you can always watch the recording also, of course. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Right. So again, to Alan and Kelvin, couldn't cover yours today, but we'll make sure to cover them next time. For sure.
Definitely.
So
definitely. And I'm sorry if I had to step out for 10 minutes, guys. I think I got sick from something I ate, so I'm gonna go and actually rest a little bit.
Okay. Well,
you guys,
it's up to you for doing that regardless.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for commenting your work. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next month or in the community. So have a good day, guys.
Happy painting, everyone, and see you soon. Take care.